Shabbat shalom, everyone, everybody. I have the honor to stay in front of you guys, the Ephraim house, and also to all the people that is behind those cameras. Thanks, Rap, for trusting me. I hope that everything is fine there in Playa del Carmen, to Mexico, to Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, South America, Colombia, also in Ecuador, and also to all the people that are looking at us. I send you a big blessings. I just hope that everything that will be learned today will be to be in peace with fine. We're going to start shelaj leja, and it means sent for you. Also in the translating, we have the help with hi. Thanks for that. The content of our parasha, as we already know, it's a parasha very, very known for those spies that they were sent to check the promised land. Also, we have the spies that gave a bad advice or a bad report. By the commentarists, they said that maybe like 3 million of people went outside from Mitzrayim. Also, we have that the Lord punished them for 40 years because they went to spy the promised land. Also, we have in our parasha the offerings of flour accompanying the sacrifices, and the God tell them how to do them and what kind of offering they have to do. Also, we have something very important here, because it says that there is a same law to the foreigner as the native. It means that there is no excuses to do not follow the Torah. Also, we know that there are some rules, but the Torah is for everyone, for everybody. Also, we have the halal, is the offering of the dove. The halal is the part that was extracted from the dove. So that part of halal, it was just a part of the bread that the women used to do in that place. Also, the Judah people, they continue taking apart that halal from the bread. We do not follow that kind of rule because we have a temple that is Mashiach. We have the bless that all of our women here, they actually do the bread. Also, we have the that the community atonement for a negligent act or violation of the precepts. We are as a community, we have to know what we are doing. We don't have to be negligent, and also we have to be very careful when we are doing the precepts. Also, we have the individual expression when it's an involuntary transgression. We have also We have also the consequence when we do something in an involuntary way. The Lord punishes that, and the Lord takes away that person from the people of Israel. We have to be very careful with that because everything that we do, everything that we say, the Lord is looking at us. So every time that we do something, as um, we have to be very careful and we have to think before we say something because maybe someone will be hurt by our words. We could be in a place that maybe no one else know us, but outside there is someone that is looking at us. Also, we have the case of the firewood collector on Shabbat, as Joseph was talking about a few minutes ago. The truth is that they didn't know what to do with that person, and the Lord, as we have read before, He says that the people or the person that breaks the Shabbat has to die. That's how actually this recollector that was on Shabbat, he had to be dead. As we see here, they say that he sacrificed himself for the people of Israel, knowing that he was going to be dead. He sacrificed himself, but that is to put the things in a pretty way. But we have to be careful when we are on Shabbat and also to the precepts that we have. It's a signal that make us stay together with the Lord, and that we have to apart the Shabbat, as He said, no as I want to do it. It's not just to rest or not to go to work. The Shabbat, maybe people say that they go to the beach, or but that is not exactly the way we have to do it. The Lord already gave us our rules that we have to follow in order to stay on Shabbat correctly. And the last thing is that we have the ordinance to have tzitzit. So the Lord, knowing how we are, He continued giving us precepts in order to stay correctly or in the way. So He gave us the precept of the tzitzit. And the main reason why the tzitzit were given is to see them and remind ourselves that we have to follow the precepts. We're going to start now with our parasha, and the text, the base text is in Bamidbar 13, number 1. And you spoke to Moshe, saying for you, shelaj leja, meant to explore the land of Canaan, that I gave to the Israelites. That's why I put the letters in red. Sent a man for each of the tribes of his parents to the leaders. Moshe sent them from the desert of Paran under the authorization of Yahweh. They were all men, leaders of the Israelites. I remark the word or the phrase that I give to the Israelites because the Lord is giving the promised land to the Israelites. But over that, the people of Israel wanted to spy what it was. We already know, based on what we have read in the universal story, that they have an art of war, like to see exactly what were the weaknesses that they have, so they were be able to attack in that way. But what I can see here is that the Lord is giving them something, and that something is the promised land. But the people of Israel wanted to spy, and just to make sure, and they sent principals, leaders. Those people were very prepared. They were people very, very prepared. But For that way, what they did, they were punished with 40 years on the desert. In a comment of Rashi of this parasha, it appears that the Lord authorized them because he was going to punish them because they doubt of what the Lord already told them. As the dad is saying something to the kid, do not do it, but at the end it says, okay, do it. But at the end we know that that kid is going to be punished. That way the kid is going to learn to follow instructions. By the commentaries, it says that the only occasion that Moshe asked to the Eternal, the, the only time or the only occasion that Moshe follows what the people wanted, they were punished. Since they since the Lord was able to take the people of Israel outside from Israel, at that time the Lord was like already exhausted and the Lord got angry because the people of Israel was actually they wanted to go back again to Mizraim, and they said, "Make us by ourselves a leader, so we can go back to the to Mizraim, because our kids are going to be born slaves." And they started to making complaints. It was we couldn't imagine to put ourselves on that place. 3 million of people making complaints. We can even imagine how hard it was for Moshe. Also, we can see that a little forward that they wanted to kill Jehoshua, but God punished them day for year. Because by the spies they sent to the land of Canaan. But here, the Lord gave also an instruction that just the people or the person that are over 20 years, they entered actually to the promised land. We're talking about men. After those 20 years, it is not responsible by the dad. The women, they have to be subject or they have to be together with a head, with the father or with the husband. Here it's talking about just men. And all of them were going to be on the desert. We can imagine that the Lord swear that they won't be at the promised land, and he did. And also in Bamidbar 14:7-10, it says, and they spoke. Well, actually here it's Caleb is the person that is talking, and they spoke to the entire Israelite community, saying, "The land we have explored is an excellent land. If you were satisfied with us, he will take us to this land." And this is the difficult part, to say, if you were satisfied. If our life is coherent with the Lord, because sometimes we know that we failed, but we have to be sure and we have to know exactly where to who we are talking to. He will take us to this land and give it to us. It's a land from which milk and honey flow. And the only two spies, Jehoshua and Caleb, they were trying to put in calm all the people there and also the rest of the spies. And they were able to see the arm or the hand of the Lord, because they knew that the Lord took away the people of Israel from Israel. We know that one of those spies, one of them was from the tribe of Ephraim and the other one from Judah. And they said that they didn't have to be afraid of what was in that land, but all the community wanted to kill them. But then the whole community tried to kill them with stones. But then the glory of Yahweh was presented in the tent of meeting in view of all the Israelites. It was too much that it caused that the shaking of the Lord went down. It says that Caleb and Jehoshua take away their clothes. They were desesperated by all the claims and also by all the things that the people of Israel was trying to do at that time. But we can see here also that the Lord gave to Moshe a plague in order to put him in calm. But there, Moshe was asking actually to the Lord to forgive the people of Israel. It is a way no selfish. It was in order to be altruism. There is when we have to express to the Lord. We always have to think about Him, not in us. Our selfish has to be put away, because every time we have to think about the Lord, not about us. Because if we think, the only one that matters here is the Lord. And the Lord saw something in us, and He is putting His power in us, so we can be part of the people of Israel. So in order to be grateful, the only one that matters here is the Lord. So here, Moshe is giving us this very good example. Also in Hebrew it says, who were those who, having heard, provoked? Were not all those who left Egypt by the land of Moshe? Who was the man of the 40 years? Was it not with those who sinned, whose bodies fell in the desert? At the home died, he swore that they wouldn't not enter into his rest. But those who disbelieved, and we see that they could not enter because of this belief. And we can see that after all this situation of the people of Israel, they actually had a spiritual level more than us. And since that time to this, we are getting down and down and down and down. That's why we need more rules. But after all this, we are not too bad at the end. Because sometimes we do not trust in the Lord, and we start to think, what we're going to do, what we're going to eat today, how am I going to pay this, or how am I going to pay my medicine? But sometimes we have a lot of worries, we are concerned, but we don't understand that at the end, everything happened to us is by the Lord. And we have to understand that the one that that actually do everything to us is the Lord. He is the one that gave us work, give us what we're gonna eat. He can do everything, whatever He want to do with us. We have to understand that, because He gave us everything. But sometimes we forget that, and we think that by ourselves we have work, we have food, we have clothes. We think that we are very intelligent in the things we do, but actually the one that gave us intelligence is the Lord. I've been here 6 years, and I have seen people that is very prepared, but they are not here anymore. And I have talked to them, and actually it is not what we have expected from that people. And it has scared us, because it's like an announcement, or it's like an advertisement that the Lord gave us, what could happen if we left the Lord, if we leave the Lord. We have to be very careful in the conversations we have, because maybe we can fail on those kind of things, or kind of bad things that actually are not correct. But why did they rebel against the Lord? Why, if they have already seen all the miracles that they have been through, they crossed the Red Sea, they ate manna from the heaven, from the sky. It was a cloud with them on the desert. It was a fire, a column fire at night with them. But we know, as we know of the desert, on the day, the temperature go up, and at night it go about like less than 0 degrees. But the Lord took care of them in that place. It was a rock with them in the desert, giving them water. But over that, they were scared and they rebelled against the Lord. And at the point that I want to go is because it was a lack of emunah. They didn't have emunah. They just didn't have that connection with the Lord. They were just walking because they have to walk. They were like, they didn't want to have something more, as we are right now. As when we were in the religion that were before, and we thought that the Lord was with us, but now we know that actually is not like that. Rab Shaul, in the first letter, it says, because I don't want brothers to ignore that our parents were all under the cloud, and all they passed at the sea, and all in Moshe were baptized in the cloud and in the sea. We know that the Tevila, as we have learned, that we have to be under the water and do a bless until we can't anymore. And when we go up again, when we have more wind, and when we say, that is a new spirit that the Lord is giving unto us. And that new thing is the thing that make a connection with the Lord. And all they ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink, because they were drunk of the spiritual rock that followed them, and the rock was Mashiach. It's something that have been passing in all the story of our we as is our story. And sometimes we say that we don't make, or we don't say bad things, or we don't appreciate the Mashiach, and it has to be appreciated. He was dead, and all his blood was outside of him, and that sacrifice that he made, we do not appreciate that at all. The people of Israel, they were tired of that spiritual food. They were making complaints to the Lord, and it's the same thing that we do right now. Sometimes we do those complaints with our acts, with the things we do, but we have to be always it's an expression that I have heard from our Rabbi. Put an eye on the Mashiach. We have to be conscious that the Lord, it's an opportunity that He already gave us. And if we don't appreciate His Son, let's suppose that in a role of a dad that someone doesn't appreciate our son, it's gonna be so it's a bad experience. So now let's put this situation with the Lord that we are not appreciating correctly Mashiach. But of the most of the actually the Lord was not pleased, therefore they were prostrated in the desert. But these things happened as examples for us, so that we don't covet evil things as they coveted, nor to be idolaters as some of them as written. We know that our Yatzehara is always going to be with us, and we left to that part take control of ourselves and remember that idolaters it's a thing that the Lord hates. To believe that I do the things or I have the things by myself, that is not the Lord, that is not God. We have to be very careful with that, because all the things that we have learned before, it's written. It's to make us to think so we can learn more. The perception of reality was totally another one, based on their selfish feelings, complaining, lamenting, the subjectivity with which they saw the situation they were living made them fearful, selfish, and they forgot everything that the Lord had done for them, people of the miracles and all the miracles. That subjectivity make us see something that is not there. Our reality is just one, and it doesn't matter if we believe on that reality or not. It is there. We have in order that we put our desire to be pure, we will learn or we will be able to see that reality. The things are not as we understand or as we can see them, because we always have to see the hand of the Lord behind everything. But the reality is always going to be one. And it doesn't matter what the man in his limited selfish vision can perceive, tied to the subjectivity that governs their lives. Everything was different, as we can see in the Haftarah. As Jacob read today, that Rahab she was from the Jericho's people. She was actually a Gentile. And she said after 40 years, she says to the spies that they weren't afraid of the people of Israel, because remember that before the land was from God. So they thought that the people of Israel had a God that was he was the most, and they were afraid of that, and they took away or they were apart from the Lord. If the people of Israel take the land, the promised land, everything would be a different story. But they were afraid. But sometimes by our selfish things, we can see that or we can perceive it. But the reality is one, and it doesn't matter what we believe or what we understand. Everything is on the Torah, and in all the interpretation that we could have, we have to be very careful with that. Therefore, when you don't have enough emunah, you cannot find the difference between what is reality and what the human being perceives as reality. It is a relation. Emuna is a relation with the Lord, but when I don't have a relation with Him, I don't know what He desires. I don't know what He needs. If I don't know a person, I don't know even how to treat with Him, like you, or to be more respectful. It is kind of strange for us. That is a lack of emuna to the Lord. Is we if we don't have an emuna, a connection with the Lord, He's going to be a strange for us, and we won't be able to know how we can satisfy Him. That's why we have to be always know. But then, how can I grow in my emuna? How do I strengthen my emuna? Knowing His will in His Torah. Everything is there in the Torah. As I said here, it is a manual for life. Every week we have to read the parasha, we have to read the information that is here. And here is where we can know what the Lord desires. We can know what is He asking for, and we can know how to satisfy Him and also how to offend Him. And this is what takes us behind or beyond this letter, and knowing the spirits make us to go over our knowledge, because if we don't go over our knowledge, we are going to be stuck, and our emuna is going to be, it's going to get down or get low. Emuna, as we have said before, it's and we have learned that emuna is the connection that the man has with his creator. If I don't have emuna, I don't have that connection. If I don't have emuna, I don't have that relation. In this famous text, we know this text, it is then faith, emuna, the certainty of what is expected, the conviction of what is not seen. Belly, it is actually just like something that we just think, but it is not at the end a true thing that is in our life. Because because we're all see cows, we can see order. If we go correctly on Shabbat, they are like ensay's, or in Shabbat we do not cook, we do not buy. In Shabbat we do not sell, we do not do another things that is not to study the Torah and to have that relation with Him. That's what we do on Shabbat. This is exactly how it's gonna be on the Olam Haba. Yes, we're not going to work, we're not going to sell things, we're not going to cook. I was reading on a book called Why for What of Mashiach, and I don't remember the name of the person that wrote this book, but it says that there are going to be trees. The tree itself is going to have fruits, and we are going to be able to eat everything. We are not going to look for food. It says that it's going to be the clothes everywhere. So everything is going to be already fixed or already done for us. That way we just have to be in calm, in peace at that time. As the people of Israel, when they went outside of Mizraim, the clothes that they had, it didn't get older or used. The shoes grow up with them, with the kids, and the Lord is promised. The promise that He has is that He is going to stay with us, because when we have emuna, where all see cows, we can see order. We know that a cow doesn't exist. We know that a cow is a bad perception of actually what's going on. Why the chaos doesn't exist? Because the one that generates everything is the Lord, and the Lord is a God of order, so the chaos doesn't exist. We all see light and darkness, we just can't see light. We have learned also that the darkness doesn't exist. It is just the light of the Lord. The darkness is just an illusion that we can see, or actually we used to see. And in a scientific way, we know that the darkness is essence of light. And where everyone sees good and bad, we only see good. The one that has emuna is always to see just available to see just light and order, and everything is for to be fine. If someone crashed my car, it's gonna be for good. If someone stole things from me, it's gonna be for good. It is just help. Everything is for us. Even the death, it's to be okay. It's just fine. Everything, it's okay. The emuna help us to purify our desire. Being the emuna, the revelation beyond the understanding that help us to walk the extra mile. If we don't have emuna, and if we are not able to go forward the knowledge we have, we will be stuck. And at the point that we go over the knowledge is when we take our emuna stronger than before. As as in Matthew says 5:41, and to anyone who forces to carry a load for a mile, go with him too. It is telling us or what we have to do, and if we have emuna, we know what he wants, because every time we take a step in emuna, it gives us knowledge, and knowledge is fusion, and we get fusion with him. Every time that we go forward our understanding, we see more things, and that knowledge help us to be in fusion or connected with God, because it given us the ability to live overcoming the limitations that our subjective perception imposes on us, and thus live beyond them. We have to be objective, not subjectivists. We have to have the ability to live in emuna, trusting on the Lord. Of course, there is a line and there is a limit. We always know that everything comes from the Lord. On our job is not just to have a seat and wait for everything to be done. We have to take actions on everything. We have to walk to Him. We have to take closer to Him. The Lord is not going to be closer to us. We have to go over Him. As those offerings are to be closer to the Lord, the emuna must bring a change in the interior of the human being. There is a connection with the inexplicable Kadosh Baruch Hu that draws us to Him. Every time that we go forward, that our knowledge, every time we learn something new, is to take that in practice. If not, we're going to forget it, and it's going to be just like a theory. We have to practice what we have learned. As the classes that the rabbits give us on Mondays, we learn a lot of things that they were already there, but we were not able to see them clear. Since I came to the Torah, I had that thirst to search and learn, and always teach us on Mondays before he taught on Thursday, and all the classes are recorded. And this is a reflection that I make to you because I know that sometimes on Monday, because our job, but there is the internet, we can get connected from our home and see the classes. If not, also then in the channel of YouTube, there is a list of all the classes, but we as people of Israel, we have to learn and recognize so we can go over the knowledge that we already have. If we don't do that, we are not Israelites. Remember what happened to the people of Israel before, because they didn't have that trust on God. Also here, we can apply the law of similarity of form. It says that everything is connected or separated by the similarity or difference of form. Every time that we get closer to the Lord, we are getting connected with Him. If we know the Lord, we are going to get closer to Him. If not, we will be far away from Him. But we have to go over that subjectivity of our life so we can live in peace. As Rabbi Arush said, having shalom bite in our home, it's basic. It's pretty important. It talks about the David King, that the Lord blessed the people of Israel with peace. He didn't bless them with money or properties or with material things, with peace, with shalom. That is our base. If we have shalom in our life, it doesn't matter what it comes. We have to build things, huge things. That's why every time the message we send Shabbat Shalom, that we will be able to enter on that Shabbat with that peace that just the Lord can give us, with that confidence that we are with Him, so we can forget everything that is coming around us. Maybe the world will get down, but we are connected with the one actually make everything. He is the only one that actually matters. The rest is given by Him. Our life is for Him. So here we do not have anything. We do not have anything. Even our clothes, we're not owner of them. He can take our clothes away from us. So why we are so obsessed to things that are not us, by the selfish that is still inside of us? We always have to go forward the altruism in order to satisfy Him, what He wants for us, because the Lord actually doesn't need anything for us. And what is that subjectivity? It is basically the property of the perceptions, arguments, and language based on the point of view of the subject, and I remark subject, and therefore influenced by the interests and particular desires of the same. It says that everything is based on the perception of the subject. So what I think, what I believe that is going on, that is the subjectivity. And that's what we have to be very careful with. When we think we are based on things that maybe they were like that, if we don't know, we should ask. We have to look more. We have to investigate. We have to search. So that way, the Lord will put in our heart that feeling, and also the power of what we have learned to put it in practice. As in Timothy says 1:7 to 9, because the Lord spirit of cowardice has not given to us, but of power, of love, and of self-control. They didn't trust. If we don't have that power that the Lord had gave us to us, that love that only came for Him, and if we don't have self-control, actually that spirit of cowardice is in us, and it's hard because we don't have to be like that. We have to be brave. As in, we said always, we are not going to be ashamed to give testimony of our Lord, not of me, your prisoner, but participate in the afflictions for the gospel according to the power of Elohim. Therefore, remember, do not be ashamed to give testimony of our Lord, nor of me, your prisoners, but participate in the afflictions for the gospel according to the power of Israel. A lot of people is ashamed of our Mashiach, but it's hard. It's truly hard to open a new way, being the being the person that all the people around us think that we are just not doing the right things. We have to be confident and certain that the Lord is with us, and our goal is not here, because here, as we have learned since kids, we born, we get reproduced, and we get that, and it's over. We have to see over that, beyond that. When Mashiach came here, to stay with Him, to know the people that were before us, that has to be our mission, our objective. Who saved us and called us with a holy call, not according to our works, but according to His purpose. Because to be honest, where we got saved, each of us, we know where we were before, what we did, and we are not too pretty to say that, but the Lord has a purpose to each and all of us, because according to His purpose and the grace that was given to us in Yeshua HaMashiach before the time of the centuries. We have to be very grateful of being part of this big house of Israel and Ephraim. We have to be grateful because He called us. He saw us, He looked at us, and He created everything, and He looked at us. That's why we are sit here. Well, not at all, but yeah, the one we are here is because He called us. The limitations only exist in our head. The Lord in all of us, there is a seed inside of us of the Ein Sof. We know that Ein Sof is the infinite, that the Lord activates and makes us walk to the unknown. That is over our logic, and sometimes we can't understand what we're doing here, but we have been learning, and that's its holy seed that is in our inside, is the one that motivates us to walk to Him. That seed of the Ein Sof search to go back to Him, and that connection is the emunah. But that emunah is given by grace because we didn't deserve. We have to work on that seed. That is the main goal of the human. There is another letter, and it says, I know how to live humbly, and I know how to have abundance. In everything and for everything, I am taught, as well as to be hungry, to have abundance, as to suffer the need. I can do everything in Mashiach that strengthens me. It was a famous text before, but understand that He is the one that helps us to work in that connection. If Mashiach, we have to eat and drink Him. If He is not in our life, if the door is not on us, we are not going to be able to go with the Father. Everything, I can do everything. And Rab Shaul says, I don't care because I had and I didn't. But at the end, that didn't matter because at the end, everything's generated since Mashiach or from Mashiach. Here, we have to be always connected with Him, connected with the Lord. But if we don't understand, if we don't know our Mashiach, we won't be able to walk and take those steps of emunah. That insecurity that is in ourselves, we have to go further that. We have to be brave because it doesn't matter what we have or what we don't have, what we have lost. Anything of that matters. As Mashiach said, look for everything of the Lord, the justice, and everything will be just given. But normally we do vice versa. First, we want to have things, and if I still have time, I can look for Him. But it's not like that. Our reasons or priorities are incorrect. If we don't have the Ruach HaMashiach in ourselves, we are lost. We don't have that emunah. Chaim Zuckerberg says, emunah is just a training to reach altruism. It's a grace, it's a gift that the Lord gave us. And we have to work on that. And work on that emunah in us to go further. That emunah, it makes us get closer to Him. And that knowledge put us in fusion with Him. And when we are connected or fusion with Him, that selfish is going to just disappear. Because the Lord doesn't relate with people that are selfish. So if we want to be with the Lord, we have to think of Him. We have to be altruism. Every time that we think in ourselves, we go back instead of going forward. Every time that we think or we are thinking in a selfish way, we go back. That's why Zuckerberg said that emunah is just a training to reach Him. The people that do sports, they know that if I have to train to run 40 miles, we have to train every day, so we can go to that. As the people that play music, they also have to train, and they do everything, so everything will be according or stay correctly to that big day. That's why it is a training. The emunah train us to reach altruism because it brings us closer to Him. it pushes us beyond reason. If the emuna doesn't push us beyond the reason, that is not emuna. If we still think that the things we do is just by ourselves, we are not right. Sometimes we think that because I'm pretty intelligent, I got the job that I have, but that is not like that. Everything comes from Him. Lightman, emuna is an uncertain path for a reason, but safe for the heart. Sometimes we don't understand why we take that step. Sometimes we don't understand why we walk on that way, but actually the Lord knows everything we're doing. As the Lord said, the land that I'm giving you, Abraham Avinu, he said, go away from your parents and your family. And Abraham just walked over the land that the Lord told him. Because if we are sons of Abraham, we have to follow his examples. We don't have to ask or keep complaining as the people on the month of Sinai said, we are going to do, and then I will understand. But if I ask before I take the step, like thinking if I take the step or not, if it's gonna be sure safe or not, I'm sorry, but that is not having emuna. That is just being selfish and being confident just in myself, and that is not what we're talking about. In Bad Mitzvah 13, 32, and 33, they say, this was said by the 10 spies that gave the bad advice. The land that we went to explore is a land that consumed its inhabitants, and all the people we saw there were enormous. There we saw the giants Nephilim, children of Anak. They were the descendants. So it means that Nephilim were children of Anak. They were the descendants of the Nephilim. We look like locusts, and that's how they saw us too. Sometimes the classic example, maybe he's angry at me because he didn't say hello to me or something like that. But maybe you already make a drama in your head. The subjectivity is the selfish that is in our heart. They thought that the Nephilim were in the first place, Nephilim were not sons of Anak. And Anak, as some people say, they were tall people, strong people, but they were not giants. Like Goliath, he was a person tall, uh, but the Nephilim actually they didn't exist since the big raining that the Lord sent. It says, I really like this phrase. When you change the way you see the things, it changes the way you act on things. This was said by Daniel Katz. If I see the things in a different way, I will act in a different way. If I do things on my selfish way, I will act on that. I will do the things based on that. But if I change, everything will be changed around me. I don't have to change the people around me. The first person that have to change, it's me. The subjectivity doesn't have to be something part of our life. Our subjectivity have to be take away from actually the correct, the real thing. As we said, that taking that extra mile, or that it scared us because we are not confident, because we're in a place that we don't know. But if we trust on God, that He puts us on that place, we have to be confident just to Him. As that song, He is beyond everything. Even in the darkness, I can see your hand. Because sometimes there are moments, dark moments, and too strong, too hard for us. And sometimes, or a lot of us, we have lived that we can't see the light anywhere. We just can see dark and everything that happened to us. Because sometimes we are just terrified of everything that is around us, and also in that darkness, in that place, there is the Lord. In the places that we don't know, there is the Lord, and it has scared us. As in Talmud says, you don't have to judge another person if you haven't been on his place. I was talking to my family that I work with, company of Huawei. He's a Cuban, and it's 2.5 meters. And when I'm beside him, I'm scared because he is so huge. But can we imagine a person, armed up, athletic, and 2 meters? And we said, but the Lord said, I will give you that in your hands. So we have to trust on the word. David with a rock killed Goliath, and Goliath was armed. It could be impossible or something that is not natural, that a rock hit his head and that killed. But we can think what was the, or how strong David sent that rock. I can imagine that he was very excited, and also that he went to take the head from Goliath. You have seen in baseball, or have you seen the baseball? We can see we can imagine if that ball take us or hit someone, it's going to kill that person. It's similar to what happened with David and Goliath. And the Lord said, go and see. We don't have to ask why here, or why not. If the Lord says walk, we have to walk, and that's it. Because if you don't walk, He's going to put you away, and He's going to take another person to take your place. The only one that can change our reality, is the Mashiach. When we get connected with that infinity essence, then we can overcome the limitations. We go beyond the subjectivity, and we live the supernaturality that overcomes all logic, and not just see it. But that would happen just if Mashiach is in us. There is now another thing, and we will see impressive things. To live in Israel, we have to believe in miracles. And if we don't believe in miracles, we are not Israelites. The Lord moves everything. We have the Torah, and we have seen all the miracles that He have done, and we still doubt of Him. I mean, that is not right. He opened the sea. He heard. He helped His people of Israel. the rock. Could you imagine a rock giving water? That is, it looks like impossible. He walked with him. Have you thought before how that rock was able to bring water? It was more than 3 billion people, and all of them was drinking water. And that rock was providing them the water that they needed. It is just amazing. And we as Israelites, that emunah that has to be with us, it has to be overcomes all the logic. We have to live outside every logic. We have to be confident on the Lord. This is a life of an Israelite. If we don't trust the Lord, if we ask every time at the Torah says, if we ask what the mitzvot say, if we chose like I'm gonna do this, I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry, but we are not of the people of Israel. And to be as an Israelite isn't an action. It's to be always active. We have learned that emunah is based on 3 pillars. Very, very important. Number 1, He alone is, and there is nothing outside of Him. That is the Shema Israel. We say that every time that we do a pray. When you wake up, on the way, when you are at home, before you go to bed, that that mitzvah this always have to be with us. He is alone, and there is nothing outside of Him. If we don't trust in that, our emunah is not strong. All His works are fair, good, and perfect. The Lord doesn't do anything bad. The Lord doesn't do anything that is not justice. The Lord do everything perfect. If we see an injustice here in our country, if we see something that is not justice, well, we have to think what we're doing, what's happening to us. All His works are fair, good, and perfect. There is no any something that is variable in all lived reality must be used to grow in a spiritual way. What happened to the people around me has to be something that I have to learn for me. Everything that I see on the streets, everything has to be a class so we can learn. If I saw an accident, why did I see that accident? We have to think also about it. We have to ask every time or every step that we do, the Lord is putting us in a place to that way we can trust in Him 100%. As our Yehuda Rebbe said, through education in the Torah, the man must decode the message that the Lord is sending him through the reality that he is living every day. If we do not read the parasha, if we do not read the Torah, how are we going to be able to know the Lord? How are we going to know about Him? How are we going to comprehend Him, to understand Him? Everything that will happen to us will be hard and will be hurt, and we're going to get in pain, and we will be suffering. But when we have the rules clear of what we have to do and what we do not have to do and who we have to trust in, everything is done already. That way we just have to understand it. As children of the Lord, as Israelites of the tribe of Ephraim, if we are descendants of Abraham, we should be an example wherever we are, wherever we go, in the way we behave, the way we express ourselves. The light of Mashiach should shine in us, being an example that you can exceed the limits and thus live in freedom. if we do not go over our limits, we won't be able to give a good example of what we are. We have to live the freedom that we already were given with. That freedom that is here, if we go over that freedom, it's gonna be, or if we believe on what we just want to believe, that is not freedom. As in Matthew 7:16 and 17, by their fruits you will know them. Do they gather grapes from the thorns or figs from the thorns? Thus, every good tree bears good fruit, but bad trees bears bad fruit. What are the fruits that we give? What kind of fruits do we have? Mashiach said, by the fruits you will know them. It's not what we think about ourselves. We have to think in our job, our home, wherever we are. We have to ask to people how they see us, or how. It's hard, but that way we will be able to learn, so we can grow up and we can accept all the information that we have, so we can grow up not thinking about just us, it's thinking about him. Because I know that a lot of us, or that we are here, a lot of our friends and familiars, they know that we are Israelites, that we are from the tribe of Ephraim, of the house of Israel. As I said to my family and my children, we have to be different. Sometimes we just have to say something just to be in the group. We have to be different because we are different. Because we have to give that example. We have to give that light. We have to be peace where is conflict. We have to give light where is just the dark. And also, as in our Siddur says at the end, to take or to bring that shalom to the people that is going through hard or difficult moments. We have to understand that who is the person that actually made everything. Neither murmur, as some of them murmured and perished by the destroyer. And those things happened to them as an example. And they are written to admonish us, to those who have reached the ends of the centuries. So the one that thinks to be firm, watch that it does not fail. It is just a letter of what that was written for them directly, of the situations that they were at that moment. And we have to be conscious of what we do and what we don't do, because see what happened with Moshe. We have learned that how it actually works, our neshama works. We have neshama, so we can, to interpret it, we have Moshe, we have the ruach, and that is just emotions, and it's by Aaron. And we have nefesh, it is just the instincts, it's the people. This is how the neshama has to work. We know that the neshama is the intellect, is what we have, is what we have the connection with the Ein Sof. The ruach are the emotions that are connected with the intellect, and the instincts are connected with emotions. In this order, we have to analyze in our intellect, and then to emotions, and also to the instincts. But if we see here in our parasha, the things were vice versa. When we go based on our instincts, be sure that everything will be failed. Every emunah has an action, works, that strains it, and everything is in our interior, being the emuna that leads us to reveal what really we are, what really we are. If there are no actions, we can't just go over the emuna way. The emuna will be dead if we don't work on that. That's why Rab Yehuda said, one day that I do not grow spiritually, I take a step back. We know that spirituality, there is always an activity. Or I go forward or I go back. If I don't go forward, I take a step back. We must avoid the comfort zone, accommodate ourselves, because if we do not advance, we go back and lose that connection. Because that knowledge that we acquire can limit us and put out that internal spark that moves us. Sometimes we say like, I already know that, and I've been here for a long of time, but we have that knowledge sleeping. We are going to get that fire in our inside off, but the knowledge has to motivate us to know more and more. This is not going to end. It's going to be end, or it's going to be over until Mashiach came here. At that point, that's what I said. I don't know. It could be that we can still go forward with him. And then our task is not that easy. But he revealed already, and he gave us his Mashiach. And what we have now is just to be grateful. We have to be grateful, which generates the love for him who remembered us and brought us his admirable light and made us a part of his people. Then the thought becomes simple. We are here in the Torah by the love to the one that brings us here to the light. And the first of John says, for this love of Elohim, that we keep his commandments and mitzvot, they are not burdensome. They are for our benefit. It's for us so we can live in harmony, so we can have our emunah strong, so we can be connected with him, and we're going to be in peace. And what Mashiach said, if you love me, well, keep my mitzvot. If we don't love him, we won't keep the mitzvot. As Rab Shaul said, without love, anything works out. And Numbers 15, 37, and 38, in conclusion, it is the ordinance of Tzitzit. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel and tell them to make fringes on the edge of their clothes for their generations, and put on each fringe of the edge a cord of blue. Those will be your tzitzit, and when you look at them, you will remember all the commandments of Yahweh, and they will fulfill them. It says that we have to see them to remember it, but also it says that we will remember the commandments, and we're going to fulfill them. If I put my tzitzit, I have to fulfill the mitzvot. And every time that I see them, I have to fulfill the mitzvot. And I have to remember the one that gave me the opportunity to wear that tzitzit, because it's a symbol to be ashamed of. And he remembered about us, because we are part of that. The Lord is calling us again, as it says, all Israel will be saved, and we are being part of that. Our objective It's to overcome the subjectivity perception that limit us. Because we live in a reality limited by the subjective perception of reality. Also, as a vessel or a kli, so we can have the ability to receive the light that is just given by Mashiach. So we can have the power to exceed those limits. And I have a challenge for you. The challenge is, let's do an introspection on us so we can identify the limitations of our subjectivity that dominates our daily life. Then, knowing it, we know that we must overcome. And then after that, knowing what doesn't work for us, we will know what we have to go over. But by ourselves, we can do it. We alone can't just do it. If the Lord is not with us, if Mashiach is not in us, everything that we do is going to be useless. We have to have, or we have to work in our emunah in order to get it stronger than before. And before I finished, I would like to tell you in Proverbs 27:2. So I can leave you this beautiful proverb of the King of Solomon. We have to be that light, and that is our mission or our commitment, that we have to be that light that Mashiach already gave us. I hope that everything will be okay for you. So let's pray. Gracias.